stuff that doctors mailbag. We're going to talk about spices and digestion and reducing bloating and cutting down on gas, all kinds of things. And we're also going to open it up to talk about whatever else is on your mind. So go ahead and drop your question in the comment or in the chat. We're going to get to as many as we possibly can. And let's go ahead and welcome on that two-time New York Times bestselling author, Dr. Will Volkowitz. Man, good to see you. It's been a while.
It's great to see you, Chuck. It feels like it has been a while, although we did do back-to-back episodes in late May. So it's been about a month. But a quick shout out before we move forward with the episode. I just want to say hello to High Carb Bath and also Wisdom Parish. We're seeing this is their first time watching live. Welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for being in the comment section with us.
Oh, that's awesome. I love first timers. I love it so much when people are able to find the show live, and that sense of community, it builds with every single episode. So I'm so welcome, guys. I'm so glad that you're here, and this is a really important topic, and one that honestly, Will, I'm surprised that we haven't gotten to yet, because you do talk about spices a lot, and how could you not in a cookbook, for goodness sake? But people think about spices, they think about flavor, but they don't really think too much about how it might be affecting their health. In this case, specifically, their gut health. Marshall has made the connection, but he's wondering which are the healthiest spices for the gut.
Okay, before I answer this question, I want to tell you my second favorite thing about spices. My second favorite thing about spices is that people who are carnivore, and they claim that they eat an exclusively meat diet, they still use spices, which come from plants. That is my second favorite thing about spices. Like, you're busted, you're claiming you only eat meat, but you can't quit us, can you? You need those spices because they have flavor. And meat is boring without us. Alright, but my favorite thing about spices is they're great. They're great. And part of what makes them great, even when you're just reading into the spice cabinet, is the polyphenol content. Polyphenol is what gives the spices their different colors. And many of these spices, they also have unique phytochemicals that you're actually tasting. What you taste, that sort of provocative thing, is actually something that is going to ultimately come into contact with your gut microbes and have beneficial effects. I have never come across a study that says that the consumption of spices is unhealthy for the gut microbiome. Every single one that I've come across, it says that they're good for us. Spices are a great way to add diversity in your diet. I encourage people to be liberal with the use of spices. It's good for the tongue. It's also great for the gut microbes. Now, the question was, what are my favorite spices? Okay, it's so hard for me to say, but I'm going to start with turmeric. Turmeric, that really golden spice, it actually is what gives mustard that yellow color. Believe it or not, turmeric is in every bottle of mustard that you purchase from the store. And it has profound anti-inflammatory properties. They've actually shown that this activates the exact same pathway that ibuprofen and other drugs like that activate, but without the side effects, without the harm, without the negative effects that you get from those drugs. And so, speaking, for myself, in my own family, my father was very tall. He was 6'7", and I would actually recommended to him he had turmeric in his routine because he was having a lot of arthritis issues. And believe it or not, by quite simply adding turmeric to his daily routine, he substantially improved his arthritis. And he didn't have to take as much naproxen and ibuprofen as he had been taking previously. One of the tricks with turmeric, by the way, is to pair it with black pepper. Black pepper increases the absorption of turmeric substantially. So anytime you use turmeric, if you're looking for those health benefits, make sure even if it's just a little sprinkle, get some black pepper in there. And the last thing, Chuck, is that I think that a cup of coffee can be a vehicle to deliver prebiotics to your gut first thing in the morning. And you can do that by adding fiber supplements, but you can also do that by adding spices. My personal favorite spice combination in a cup of coffee is turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon. Put those three, the trinity, into the bottom of your cup, pour some coffee over the top, stir it. Don't go too hard on the spices in the beginning. Go nice and light until you get used to it. But it's amazing.
So when you go to Starbucks, I mean, do you try to place that custom order, or are you just taking your own proprietary blend of spices with you to mix it?
So the problem with Starbucks, I love Starbucks. I have dinner almost every single day. But the problem with Starbucks is that if you were to say, hey, you add the turmeric book, they would give some sort of turmeric that is mixed with sugar, right? Like when you order matcha green tea, it's actually impossible to get matcha green tea without adding sugar at Starbucks. They've already blended it together. So, look, it's up to you how you want to do this. It could be like a dollop bag, kind of similar to what you carry your deodorant and your toothbrush in when you're traveling, or it could be some sort of like waste bag or something like that. I don't know. But the point is that you can bring your spices with you to Starbucks.
And that might be the best way. That might be the best way. Before the show today, when we got this question, I'm doing a little bit of research, and I was like, all right, well, I wonder what are the most common spices that people have in their kitchens here in the U.S. Here's the list. You tell me if any of these are not good for gut health, because based off of what it was you just said, there's no spice that it has a detrimental effect, basically. So black pepper, you've already given the thumbs up to. Cumin.
Oh, they made the thumbs up. Fantastic spice.
Red pepper flakes.
Believe it or not, yes. Red pepper flakes, including red pepper in general, contain capsaicin. Capsaicin has been shown to be good for the gut, anti-inflammatory.
Alright. Bay leaves, more of a herb than a spice.
I haven't seen any clear data about giving it a thumbs up because the assumption is that that's going to have polyphenols and other good for your gut microbiome, so it's like thumbs up.
Garlic powder.
Oh, major thumbs up. Garlic powders. Look, I would rather you get fresh garlic, but I'm still giving it a thumbs up to garlic. Has allicin, and allicin has the benefits that you get from garlic come from this phytochemical called allicin.
Paprika.
Paprika has a definite thumbs up also. I mean, even if you see a vibrant color like vibrant red, you know that there's polyphenols in play that are good for your gut microbes.
And we'll round it out with oregano.
Oh, definite thumbs up with oregano. Oregano has anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Now, here's the thing. Oregano oil, which is basically taking oregano and then concentrating it, I'm a little bit more cautious about that because I feel like when you're concentrating it in its unnatural form, it can actually cause harm to the microbiome. But when it's consumed as a spice, totally different story. I completely thumbs up on that.
Alright, let's take a question here from Anton. We were just talking about turmeric. Anton, hi Chuck and Dr. Will. Must I eat turmeric every day?
You don't have to. You don't have to. It's not a must. There's no such thing as a must in terms of your diet. Let me say this: making rules that cause stress or duress. That's not what I'm about when it comes to nutrition. I'm more like, this food is fun. It is delicious. And by the way, when you're eating plants, it's good food. So let's just look for opportunities to get as many of these as possible. But I will say, if you believe in healthy habits, meaning that little thing that you do, but you do it consistently, will ultimately pay dividends, then looking at something like turmeric, cinnamon, and ginger in your coffee on a daily basis, if you love it, don't do it if you don't love it. If you love it, you have just created a healthy habit, and that's how you can create the vehicle for turmeric on a routine basis.
Let's see here. Hannah, also a first-timer joining us today, so hello, thanks for being here. Betsy, not a first-timer, but appreciates all the excellent info as always. And Michelle, the plant-based dog mom, just wants to say hi. So hello, one and all. Let's get specific about IBS here and spices. Interesting question. I'm not sure that there's a connection necessarily between the two here. Deidre is wondering if any spices are particularly beneficial in terms of finding some relief if you have IBS.
Well, real quick, Chuck, there's a comment from Chris Mueller the chat box, and Chris has been eating my Trinity overnight oats from the Fiber Food Cookbook routinely. And the Trinity overnight oats includes cinnamon and turmeric and ginger. So I actually applied the spice pattern to the specific recipe.
Your own breakfast blend right there, man. That's what that is. That is a breakfast blend. The Bolshevik breakfast blend.
Definitely. What are some of the things that are beneficial for IBS? So, well, let's put it this way. First of all, peppermint. I don't know if you consider that to be a spice. Obviously, like peppermint is something that could be considered routinely, but it is done as a form of tea, as an example. And peppermint actually has powerful research to back it up in terms of irritable bowel syndrome. Multiple studies that have all said the same thing. People have improvement of their symptoms when they consume turmeric. Consume peppermint. The other one that immediately comes to mind is with Indian food. And it's like authentically Indian. And you go to checkout, usually where the host or hostess works, you'll find a bowl filled with fennel seeds. It's actually a tradition in Indian culture to chew on fennel seeds after a meal. And it turns out that the oils that are in the fennel seeds, I'm talking about the same fennel seeds that you may have in your spice cabinet. The oils that are in the fennel seeds actually are good for irritable bowel syndrome. They help digestion. So, and that's part of the reason why that's a part of Indian culture. They discovered this little hack, and they just kind of started doing it. And you could do it too if you want to. You could also do it as fennel tea if you prefer, instead of chewing on the seeds.
What if you mix that fennel in with something that we know probably isn't the healthiest thing for you, like sausage, right? So I know that a lot of people are keen on putting fennel in sausage. As somebody who's watching this right now who just wants to, poke the bear a little bit, so to speak, is going to say, yeah, well, I can get that same benefit with that piece of sausage.
Oh.
What do you think?
We've been, how many episodes of the exam room have we done? And this is the first time we're talking about sausage on the exam room.
I know, right? I know.
We were overdue. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a perfect diet. That's the deal. I don't think people should have anxiety about their food, but I do think that we should make smart choices. And when you put a little sprinkling of fennel seeds into this sausage vehicle, that is effectively putting something that is beneficial into a larger bowl of poison. And you wouldn't drink the larger bowl of poison just to have this little sprinkle of something that's beneficial and good for you. That wouldn't make sense. So let's stick to the fennel seeds. Let's look for alternative ways to get fennel seeds. But truth be told, and this is just keeping it real, summertime, there are times when I like to have a Beyond Meat broth. And they're good. They taste great. Do I do it every week? Heck no. I probably do this 2 or 3 times a summer. And that's okay. I think that's okay. I don't think you should feel guilty or bad about that. Having some space to consume food that you enjoy that you're not necessarily eating for health. So let's make it that most of what we're eating because we know it tastes good and we're not compromising in terms of our health.
Right on. So I guess my question to you then would be, how does eating something that would be what I think the majority of people would say is a middle ground food in that Beyond broth compared to something that is completely unhealthy in an actual broth in terms of gut health? What is the difference between the two there?
There's a couple of differences actually between the Beyond Meat broth and the real sausage. So the sausage is a preserved meat. It's a preserved meat. And so the problem with the preserved meat is that the World Health Organization has identified that as a probable carcinogen. So that's the first thing. And the concern specifically relates to colorectal cancer. And look, we have a huge colorectal cancer problem in the United States. You and I have spent time on the show talking about colorectal cancer and the burden of disease that we have in the U.S. 150,000 people per year are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer. That's insane. And it doesn't have to be that way. And a big part of the problem is that we're eating foods that enhance or increase our risk So that's the first thing that I would say is that you have one food that is a probable carcinogen according to reputable people at the World Health Organization, basically like a scientist sort of looking at the whole body of evidence, versus there's no evidence that the Beyond Meat is a probable carcinogen. That's the first thing. The second thing is Professor Christopher Gardner, who is someone at Stanford University, very well respected nutritionist, someone who I actually know and we serve on the scientific advisory board of Zoe together. He actually published a paper comparing Beyond Meat products to organic animal products. That way the argument can't be, oh, well, you're feeding them junk meat, right? You feed them the highest quality, most expensive meat, the type of meat that most people can't afford, organic. And compared it to Beyond Meat products, what he saw was that the organic meat drove up TMAO levels. Now, TMAO actually connects back to the microbiome, but this is a blood marker. For those that haven't heard of this, it's a blood marker identified by the Cleveland Clinic, the top cardiology program in the country, that they have isolated and they have connected as an independent risk factor, similar to smoking, an independent risk factor for heart disease, having a heart attack, for stroke, for diabetes, for chronic kidney disease. There's no evidence that TMAO is good for us. There's a lot of evidence that it's bad for us, and you get it from eating meat, specifically red meat. So these are two of the benefits of the Beyond Meat broth compared to the traditional.
And that said, for those who really like to take health, make things as healthy as possible, still, you can do it the whole food plant-based way. There are carrot dogs out there if you really wanted to go to that kind of extreme. Which, by the way, have you ever had a carrot dog that's made with the jalapenos and liquid smoke? Like, they are delicious. They are absolutely delicious.
Well, this is the thing, is you have a lot of options. So, I sit here, I'm not advocating for Beyond, for meat replacement. I'm not advocating for this in the sense that I'm not saying that we should make this a backbone diet. I'm just saying, like, there has to be some wiggle room in our diet where we eat things that aren't necessarily the healthiest item, the healthiest food on the entire planet. That's just being human. But there are replacements that exist that we categorically agree don't come with those compromises. And so, like, a carrot dog would be an example of one. Another one would be a portobello burger. You could do portobello steaks. I actually have that recipe in front of me in the book. Black bean burgers, the veggie burgers in general. There's a lot of great choices that are available. It's just sort of a question of, like, what sort of experience are you looking for in your growing day?
There you go. I like it. Let's circle back to turmeric. A lot of people still questioning this in the old chat here, wondering what the best form is. Can you get the same benefits from the powdered, the ground turmeric that most of us have as you could from fresh turmeric?
Yeah. The evidence would suggest that you can get those benefits from the powdered turmeric. And in fact, the vast majority of studies have not included the fresh turmeric. The vast majority of studies have actually been with the use of supplementation of turmeric. But like supplementation is frankly no different than, is it a capsule that contains the turmeric spice, or are you using the turmeric spice in your food? Ultimately, it's getting to the same place and doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that was the next question from a gentleman in the chat who was wondering if the supplements were just as good as the spice. It sounds like they can almost be one and the same.
Yeah, if you prefer to supplement with turmeric, that for the person who said, I don't really like the flavor of it, I don't want to consume it on a daily basis, if you choose to take the turmeric supplement, I think that's perfectly fine. That's your choice. But there are ways that I think are delicious to include turmeric.
All right, let's take an interesting question here from Barb, who is courageous enough to admit that she's suffering from a little bit of gas and bloating and wondering whether there are any spices she can incorporate in her diet to help out there.
The fennel, actually. So the fennel is a great choice when it comes to gas and bloating. Going back to that one from before. And peppermint, the peppermint approach is not specific to gas, but it helps in terms of irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome often comes with a package that includes gas. So I would just go back to those two. That's where the body of evidence really is the most strong.
We were talking about Starbucks, talking about coffee, but what about tea? Let's switch gears away from spices just momentarily and talk tea. Mary is wondering whether drinking tea can improve digestion.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I am of the belief that a warm beverage of any variety consumed after a meal does have a soothing effect. I am convinced that this is part of the reason why bone broth is so popular. I do not question that when people consume bone broth, they feel a sense of at ease in terms of their gut. I think this is just a common thing among warm beverages that we consume. And like literally, I'm convinced you can warm up a glass of water and you still feel like a sense of ease with your gut when you consume this after a meal. So I do believe that tea can be something that helps in terms of digestion. In terms of tea and the microbiome, the evidence is clear. Tea is beneficial for the gut microbiome. And part of what's special about tea are the polyphenols, which we've been talking about during the show. We're talking about spices, that's really what we're focusing on. The polyphenols are beneficial for the gut bug. And the tea that seems to have the most in the form of these polyphenols is matcha green tea. Matcha green tea, you actually, because of the way that it's produced, it's powder. And you stir the powder, and you don't typically steep it. You don't have a bag that you pull out. You typically just stir the powder into water and you consume the whole thing. So that powder is actually consumed food. And this is part of what enhances the access to this particular phytochemical called EGCG that has these benefits for our health, including for our health. So I'm a big fan of tea.
Have you figured out a way to get the water to absorb all of the matcha? I always wind up with kind of this matcha mud at the bottom of my mug every time that I try to mix it in there together. I know that you have some at your house. We enjoyed a cup when we were building out your studio. I don't know, is there a trick to that I'm missing?
Well, okay, I don't prepare the traditional matcha in my home on a daily basis. When I do my matcha, let me just be upfront and frank. I typically pour the matcha into into a mug, and then I add hot water and I stir. That's it. Alright? And it does settle out, so this is where keeping the spoon and giving it a stir before you take a sip is just kind of a hack to use. But Chuck, if you were to look at the traditional preparation of matcha, by the way, if anyone's ever been to Asheville, North Carolina, or if you're going to Asheville, fantastic town for me to plant days. My wife and I, this is where we like to vacation because we live in Charleston and don't have great access to fancy food here. We go to Asheville, we feel like we're in heaven. And there's a place called Dover Tea, and they serve tea in the authentic way. And they have this 400-page book built. It's all about tea. It's hilarious. So traditional matcha tea is served in a Japanese, I forget the proper word for it, someone in the chat box may have it, but it's basically like a ceramic, okay? And you put the tea at the bottom, add a little bit of water. It's more like just a couple of ounces. It's not like you would do in a big mug. It's more like probably 3 ounces. And they have this special brush, and they will vigorously apply the brush and whip up the matcha until it comes slowly. And then you drink it almost like an espresso.
That does sound quite tasty. We have, let's see, Sherry J right now is saying matcha with a dash of lemon in there. That seems like that would be a heck of a combination as well. I might have to try that.
It's a great combination. I actually completely agree. I appreciate you, Sherry, for bringing it up because and then you also enhance the polyphenol content. So it's fascinating.
Let's see, Erica Evans, is this live? Yes, sure is. Okay, question. Question Michael says that he's been eating the whole food plant-based diet, but still not able to eat unlimited amounts of beans every day. How can he go ahead and try to incorporate more beans into his diet? So sometimes he eats white rice. Says sometimes he eats white rice instead of brown, and that seems to help. So if somebody's struggling, Dr. B, to get more beans into their diet, where would you suggest it?
Chuck, beans. They're good for the heart. But the more you eat, the more you... So, we want more beans. Beans are the longevity food. bring Dan Buechner from the Blue Zone on here. He's going to talk for an hour about beans, and it's hard to get him to stop talking about beans because it's a love affair. Alright, because they're so good for us, and they reduce our risk of heart disease and cancer, among many other things. We want those to continue. There are some tricks that you can apply. Naturally, my start low and go slow approach is a big part of the strategy. What that means is getting your body adjusted to consume beans. So don't go super hard at one meal with a ton of beans and then not eat beans for 2 weeks and talk about how that one meal makes you feel better. But instead, consuming beans with regularity and very small quantities is one of the ways you can build up your tolerance. Another way is through soaking. When you soak your beans, alright, so if you have dried beans, put them in a bath of water overnight. Alright, wake up the next day, pour out the water, rinse them, and then pour out the water again, okay, before you cook them. Or if it's canned beans, quite simply rinse them like crazy. The reason that this works is that you are actually drawing off one of the things that is responsible for a lot of the gas production. It's what we call water soluble. And so water soluble means that it will get into the water. So when you add water to it, you are pulling this out. And then you're going to pour it out into the sink. And so you are eliminating this thing that can be responsible for some of the gas production. You can also cook your beans with kombu. That's one of the tricks that people do. And if you don't, this is a recent thing for me, shocking. I have become a big instant pot fan. You're an instant pot?
Oh, yeah. Big fan. Big fan. Absolutely.
Alright, I never used one until very recently. Now I get it. Now I understand why people are not about this. You take, like, if you're doing whole grains, such a way to make whole grains so accessible. Because you quite simply take, like, you scoop a cup of whole grains, drop it in there, add like a cup and a half of water, a little sprinkle of salt if you want it, press the button and come back in 20 minutes and you've got the most fluffy, delicious whole grains. Right? The same is true for legumes. When you cook with the Instant Pot with legumes, it's not just reducing the lectin content, it also is reducing the histamine content, which can be responsible for some bloating. And so there are some benefits to doing it.
Yeah, I really want to do that. I want to cook garbanzo beans in the Instant Pot and do ultra fresh hummus and see how that tastes. My guess is it will be the most extraordinary thing ever to hit this palate, and I'm excited about what may happen this weekend. I'm pumped.
What if you sprouted those garbanzos, baby? What if you sprouted those? Well, that is.
I mean, that's next level. I mean, that might just be too much. I don't know that I could handle that personally. That just might be too much for this guy.
Yeah.
Talking about whole grains here, great transition to a question from Danushka, wondering whether they can cause bloating. She specifically is wondering about quinoa, because every time she eats quinoa salad, her stomach starts to hurt and she starts to feel gassy, like she needs to use the restroom. And sometimes, not to get too TMI here, but she may see a little bit of undigested quinoa on the way out, if you know what I mean. She loves quinoa, though. What can she do?
Well, so there's a couple of things. First of all, whole grains and legumes, the story is actually very similar. There's a reason why these foods, number one, cause a lot of gas and bloating. Number two, many people will claim that they're bad for digestion. That's actually not true. You're just feeling it. And that's because they're high in fiber and resistant starches and polyphenols. That is 3 types of prebiotics, and that is also a lot of work for your microbiome. That's why you're struggling, but at the same time, it also makes them the ultimate gut health food. I'm not kidding when I say that. Like, if I only get to choose 1 or 2, here's where I'm going. Those are my 1 or 2. Now, how can we approach this with whole grains? So, a couple of things. First, the lowest slow method is in play once again. You got to make sure, because many of us have a tendency to do this. You get excited. Oh, I love quinoa. So then you serve up this massive bowl. But the quantity is part of the story. The larger the quantity of quinoa you have in the serving, the more you are asking your gut microbes to step up and do work. So reducing the quantity of the quinoa and perhaps consuming it in smaller quantities on a more regular basis is one of the strategies. Another strategy is cooking with the Instant pot, the pressure cooker. So again, you get delicious food, so fluffy, so great, and simultaneously it becomes more digestible because you're cooking it that way. And the last thing would be sprouting. So you can actually sprout your quinoa, and this is one of the ways to make it more accessible. So soaking it.
Yeah, you're like the sprout king. I could see like the follow up to fiber fuels being like sprout fueled or something like that. I don't know.
I am the sprout prince. I'm the sprout prince.
There it
The
is.
sprout king is Doug Evans. Doug Evans is the sprout king. I am the sprout prince.
The
I'm
sprout
prince.
prince.
I'm in
Okay. There, he's okay. You talk a lot about variety in your diet and the number of different plant foods a person should eat every week. Have a question from Norma, wondering whether when she's counting the number of different plant foods she's eating every week, would that include the foods that she's putting into her juicer?
Oh, wow. It's a good question, obviously, hence my response. And, you know, here's the thing that I would say. If you're asking me, do you include these when you put them into a smoothie, that's a clear, wholehearted yes, because you're not tossing
How long
fiber.
has it been cooking?
I mean, I have to say, like,
It's got 33
if
minutes.
you're putting them into your juicer, I'm a bit apprehensive to include it on the list. That being said, at the end of the day, I just want you to get as many varieties of plants in whatever way you can. My preference would be that you do it in a smoothie instead of the juicer. That way you're not giving up the fiber. That would be my preference. But if the choice is juicer versus not doing them at all, I'll still take the juicer when it comes to these types of foods. And so if that's the case and you really want to include it, I'm not mad at you. At the end of the day, it's just about fun. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Like, it's not about the rules. If the rules are causing you stress, then you're not doing it the way that I want you to. I just want you to have fun and eat more varieties of plants, period. End of story.
That's it, man. Have fun with it. This is a fun diet, man. It's all about creativity and finding innovative ways to get proper nutrition in the kitchen that's delicious and exploring and expanding the palate. And it is, dude. It is absolutely fun. If somebody asked me what's the best way to sum up a plant-based diet, fun might be the one word that I use.
It should be. For many people who don't cook this way, if they're not used to cooking this way, that to them is like, come on, you're eating cardboard. It's like, no, actually I'm not. Check out these delicious recipes, right? But I kind of feel like it's like we should all channel our inner Emerald Lagasse and just like be in the kitchen, like, bam, boom, bam, with the spices. You know what I mean? That's part of the fun.
No doubt about it. And that's why, like, I find it, like, really fun to try things like carrot dogs, right? So, like, guy in the chat was saying, like, carrot dogs, ooh, but then we had another guy in the chat who's like, I was skeptical, too, until I tried them, and they're delicious. What's up, Video 1000 Night? But, you know, I think back to when I was still overweight, right? And I must have been like 3.5 bills at this point. And a buddy of mine, a colleague at the time, takes me to this 24-hour cheesesteak diner. And the line in the middle of the night for this place was around the block. And he's like, dude, look at this. These are all of our people, right? And he's like, people would not be here if the food did not taste good. And even though I'm eating a completely different diet these days, that mentality still stays with me. I am not, no matter how healthy it is, going to eat anything if it doesn't taste good. So if this former 420-pound guy is telling you that a carrot dog tastes good, you can take it to the bank, Dr. B, that carrot dog tastes good. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm not doubting you, man. I was never pushing back or doubting you. I wholeheartedly agree. But no, I think that your point is the right point, which is that people need to understand we're not asking you to compromise your taste or your flavor. That's not the issue. We're saying to you, you can have your taste and flavor without compromising your health. This is an option, and you can take it if you want it.
Yep. No question about it. Spicy food is an option for all of us as well. Some people love it, some people, not so much, but the option is always there. Aaliyah, though, we talked a little bit about this earlier when we were talking about red pepper flakes, but she's wondering if you can elaborate a little bit more on the connection between spicy food and gut health.
Yes, the capsaicin. Capsaicin is a part of spicy peppers, and they've actually found that capsaicin has beneficial effects in terms of not only our gut health, but there appears to be metabolic benefits to the consumption of capsaicin. By the way, capsaicin you can also find in your drugstore as a cream, and it's actually applied, like for example, to the joints of people that have arthritis. And so it's a quite fascinating thing. Like think about this. What I'm telling you, I'm not advocating for drugs. What I'm telling you is that the pharmaceutical industry is looking at what happens in the plant world, and they're basically like pulling out the stuff that works and then turning it into something that they can commercialize. And so, but it naturally exists and occurs in real food. And this capsaicin, again, is beneficial for the gut microbiome.
You think spicy food, you think heartburn. A lot of people reach for those Tums, but Serenity is wondering whether fasting could be a good remedy for heartburn.
Nice.
For some people, I have not seen a great study to prove. Here's what I would say. If we create a fasting protocol, Chuck, it's almost a requirement that it pushes forward your dinner time, right? Because if you're eating at midnight and then you're fasting, that's just to me kind of a bizarre fasting program. Like any real fasting program basically means you have your dinner and then no food, no alcohol, no sweet treats in the evening. And if you do actually just that, you can actually improve heartburn or acid reflux. Because one of the problems is you lay down flat at night and you sleep, and whether you feel it or not, because you may actually feel it the next day during the day, but whether you feel it or not, laying flat, gravity used to be your friend, and now it's kind of turned into the enemy a little bit because you're laying flat. It's very easy for things to reflux up into the esophagus and then to stay there overnight. And this is why we want an empty stomach when we go to bed. So ideally 4 hours of wink time with no alcohol, no sweets, no food prior to going to bed.
Yes.
Let's see here. Tell me, how can low carb diets affect the microbiome? I'm sure you can talk quite a bit about this one.
Well, I can talk about this one, but unfortunately the reality is it's more speculative than actual hard science, at least where we stand today, believe it or not, Chuck, because we don't have as much research on this topic as we'd like. I mean, the reality is that people have run with the low carb idea. They've taken the baton and they've started running with it, and it's like, hold on, where are your studies? Like, where is the evidence to back this up? And so the reality with low carb, first of all, can we create a low carb diet that, like, I would sit there and say, yeah, that looks pretty healthy? It's possible. I still would take issue with the fact that you have to eliminate fruit in order to do a low carb diet. And that to me is elimination of a healthful food category.
Yeah.
And that's not good for your gut microbiome.
That's not.
So it's hard for me to really stand behind a low carb diet, particularly when it's being used long term. It feels like more of a gimmick. It feels like more of a fad. And the